Well, a good afternoon, or whenever it is you're watching this, April 14th, 2020. It is split day for our nuke that we've been following. I think it's going to be a year and about a week or so that we've been following this colony. And I've got my wonderful wife who is not only videoing, but also she's getting introduced into beekeeping and is getting more involved in it, and so I'm going to have her asking questions along the way. But let's first off start by assessing the colony to see if it's strong enough to make a split. The other thing too that we're going to cover, the way I'm going to do a split today, there's several ways you can do walkaway splits, or queen cells, whatever. I've got mated queens I'm going to use, but we'll do a video at some point about walkaway splits too. But an issue of concern that a lot of people ask me, especially if they have one or two hives, is what do I do if I can't find another yard to take it a mile or 2 miles away? And that's not necessary. You can easily have your new split in the same yard, and it's very easy to do that, and we'll show you how to do that too. But first thing is assess the colony. Let's assess the strength and see what it's looking like. And we got lots of bees.
So what frame did you look at in particular to assess the strength?
Well, right now I'm just getting a visual of just seeing, like when I look down right before I smoke them, it's more or less 3/4 with bees. And so I'm immediately going to go down. Another thing too, when you're prying supers, it feels like it's still heavy. It's usually because there's a frame stuck, and so you just go with your hive tool. If you keep trying to pry it up, a lot of times it'll make the frames drop, and then that puts the bees in a rather foul mood. Okay, now the other thing too that we're wanting to assess the strength, which I don't know if you can see by the video. I mean, these are looking good. We also want to assess whether they have started swarm preparations, which these are queen cups, but there's no eggs in them. That's one thing that you're wanting to do whenever you see these. Just check real quick, see if there's any eggs. There isn't. And so we can keep moving on. That's pretty normal even throughout the year. A lot of times they'll have those. So what I'm curious about is, for me, when I'm making a split, and we showed a video here a week or so ago about this, what I would do is take this down. I'll take both of these boxes off, set them to the side, and then individually shake each frame of bees off into this first one, so that I know for sure the queen is down there. And then I put a queen excluder, put these boxes back on, come back in an hour or so, pull them off, and those would be your new splits. Because this is the approach we're taking today is one of, if you just have a couple of hives, kind of more of a just a hobby. So because I saw brood underneath there, I am going to suspect that the queen is up here laying already. And once again, really important, especially when you're first beginning, is to take a frame out of the side so that it gives you space to move, so you're not rolling bees while you're pulling the frame up. For me, I've got a decent space here, and two, I mean, it's just, so I'm going to pull it straight up so you're not rolling the bees on the side. And see, they've got a bunch of capped brood. Another thing to notice too is, I don't know if you can see how fuzzy this bee is compared to, say, this one. That's because this is a younger one. Not unlike, even though these are females, it's not unlike males in the sense of the older they get, the more fur they lose, more hair. So, male pattern, or I guess it'd be bee pattern baldness. Yep. See, here's another queen cup that they've started, but it's not. And the other thing too, see now look at the honey flow that they've got coming in here. Look at this. This is all fresh nectar. The way you can tell that that's fresh nectar is that I don't know if you can see very clearly on the camera, but this is all uncapped, and there's also fresh white wax just on the very top of the cells. So that's the maple flow that we have going on. From what I'm seeing, it's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if the queen is probably headed back down into the second box. This is why on a commercial scale, we don't take time to look for the queen. A pretty common question that I get asked, or people when they pick up nucs, is, you know, I installed the nuc, but I couldn't find the queen. And don't worry. The biggest thing is make sure that you find eggs. That's your most important thing. If you find eggs, you know she's in there, because some days it's real easy to spot a queen. Other days, I swear she uses camouflage. Another trick too is to use your lid as a stand. If you offset the box a little bit, it doesn't crush any bees underneath. You also have to worry about grass and stuff getting stuck on there. So looking at these frames, just because it's a little bit tighter, I'm going to go ahead and pull one of the side frames out first. Chances are really good that she's not there. That's just all pollen, nectar.
So why would she not likely be on the outside frames?
It's just the, let's see, here's brood here. It's just the way that they automatically are instinctually, in the sense of the way that they like to build their brood nests. Now see, something I'm seeing here is, see, once again, you have this capped brood, but then you have all of this backfilling of nectar. And that's a really good sign that their swarming impulse is going to be exacerbated, because she's running out of room to lay. And so this is a perfect time of the year to do a split. And obviously every year is different. So I mean, you know, next year it might not be good timing to do a split until May, but right now the bees are healthy.
So for those who are just learning, all of those capped brood that's...
Okay, now here's a swarm cell that has started. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
So even more reason for us to make sure. So what I'm actually going to do, so we're going to end up shaking these frames, and the reason we're going to do that is so that we can also look for swarm cells. But before we do that, I'm going to put these back. And see, once again, good population of bees. Okay, so we've got 1, 2 swarm cells, this one here that we broke. So bees will usually swarm right after they've got the swarm cells capped. These have pretty young larvae in them. I would say probably maybe 2 or 3 days. So they're still a ways away, well, I mean a few days away from you probably swarming. But we want to make sure we get ahead of that. And so the other step we're going to do, I'm going to set this side aside and check this bottom box as well. Your swarm cells are usually always underneath, so you're going to check, and doesn't look like we've got any activity here yet, but let's nothing there. What I'm doing right now is just looking for swarm cells, and if I so happen to see the queen too, that'll be a nice extra. Seeing lots of eggs. If ever you come across a swarm cell that has been capped. Oh yeah, there she is. Cool. Right there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set aside this frame. Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, let's set aside this frame first. What I'm actually going to do is just lay it against my leg. And I'm going to keep going, finish going through here, just to make sure that there's no surprise cells, swarm cells. But what I am seeing is that she's building a really nice brood nest down here. Good frame of honey. Okay, so our job is going to be real easy here. By the way, here's a couple of frames on the side that they never drew out. So we're going to move, this one's drawn out. Don't separate brood. These are 2 honey frames, and so I'm just putting them in between that. The reason you don't want to separate brood is because they can chill, especially with our cold evenings that we're getting. See if we can see, there she is. So there she is right there. You have to be really careful with the frame that the queen is on, because a lot of times she'll go on the edges. In this case, what we're going to do is just pick her up by the wings, like that. Pick her up by the wings. It's kind of like a little handle, and what we can do is we can put her safely over there, so we know that she is not going to get crushed. The other thing that you can do is just give yourself a lot of room for the frame that you're going to be putting back. But what I'm going to do, okay, so we know she's in here, and you say to yourself, Kevin, I don't have a second bee yard. What should I do? I thought there was hope in life, and then it was removed. I have an answer for that. No, it's really simple. The queen is here. We pick this box up and put it over here. And there's your new split.
Easy peasy,
now,
lemon squeezy.
I might grab a frame of capped brood, but then again, you have to remember that they're already preparing to swarm, and so you really don't want this split to be, I mean, look over here at it right now. That's a good population of bees. What's going to happen, because we did that, this was all new, relatively new larvae in here. They hadn't even started, just had started capping the brood. So by setting it in a new location, all of the field bees, which make up a fair population, are lost to this colony and the original queen. So there's a population reduction as well as a brood reduction. And so that is going to have a pretty powerful effect of dissuading them from swarming. We'll still want to come back in a few days, check to see, because some colonies, every colony really does have its own personality, and some colonies are going to be more prone to swarm. But with this one here, I think that'll probably, we'll see. We'll come back in a week.
Are you going to add another deep box with drawn out comb for her to lay?
We could at this point. I'm probably, because they have a couple of frames they haven't totally drawn out yet, I'll probably just leave it like this. Because once again, the struggle with this time of year when we get mild weather is that, you know, during the day it's fine, but at night it can go below freezing, and so you're really wanting to be
keep them as concentrated.
Cognitive of the fact that, yeah, they could get chilled. So, okay, so there's the one split. We can take this out here now. This was for winter, for keeping the mice out. Okay, so we put this one back, and but what we're going to have to do, if you were wanting to do a walk-away split, this would have been perfect. You know, leave those queen cells, let them develop their own. Because we have mated queens with us, what I now need to do is go through and shake the bees off of each one of these frames. Now this is just all nectar and pollen, so that I don't have to bother. But I need to shake all the bees off of these frames and check for queen cells. Because if you give a colony a queen, a mated queen, and they already have a queen cell started, they'll kill the queen. It's also a good idea to clean the bottom of your frames off. That's a really good way to...
Now those ones with the capped brood that are a little more raised than the others, that is your...
That's your drone brood, yep. And that's another obviously good sign that they're preparing to swarm, because, you know, your drones make up your males. Like this here, here's your drone brood. It's a domed cell versus smooth cell. And you can see all the backfilling. That's why this looks so spotty. If you were seeing spotty brood like this and there was no larvae or backfilling, then you'd have to be questioning, okay, is there a health issue? But they're just running out of room. And so, anyways, yeah. So we want to scrape all of this stuff off, because what happens is that can build up. And then when you pull the frames out, it can roll bees.
Like when you were talking about earlier about how your frames stick.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing is that, you know, you roll a bunch of bees and you don't even know you did it, but you can't figure out why your bees are so upset. And the reason being is that they saw their friends just got smashed, you know. So okay, cool. So that's the last frame of brood. There's only 4 frames, I guess, cap brood. So bring those back together. Get our queen. Now somebody asked, you know, about queen acceptance, and one of the ways that you can help with the probability for being accepted is obviously the candy plug's going to give a couple of days for them to get used to her, and then also feed them, even though they've got a flow going on, which acts the same way. I'm still going to give them a little bit of syrup just to ease the transition. Yeah. Once again, candy plug goes down. The reason you don't put it up is because the candy and the warmth of the hive can start to melt and drip on the queen and kill her. So candy plug down, screen facing out, so that the bees can feed her and communicate with her. And it's just put between the frames like that. And so we put our frames back. coat these bees so we're not crushing a bunch of them. And see, if you put the phone down here, they can already tell, see the sound, they can already tell they're queenless. It's an amazing thing.
How quickly
Yep, how quickly
word spreads.
Yeah. The rumor mill. But the rumor's true. Now, as far as with these bees, we could actually, this probably weighs about 30 pounds. It's almost full of honey. With these ones, we could actually make another split with this. But what I'm gonna do is, let's wait and get this one established. Remember, this is going to have the larger population of bees in it, and so you could put I'll put a second deep and then this one on top. I'm not worried about putting a new one in the middle of these two, simply because there's no brood in this one.
Now, if there was brood in that one, again, it's the whole chill factor.
There's the chill factor, and then there's also the factor, too, that if you separate brood in a colony too far from each other, even sometimes as much as just one deep, they'll sense that they're queenless and develop queen cells. It's the strangest thing. So that's another one of the reasons why you're wanting to... And see, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can split bees. I mean, like this box of bees here. I mean, look at the population. I mean, it's just full of bees. You could easily make 2 splits out of this if you're using Western size frames. You could easily make 2 splits out of this. But once again, when it comes to making splits, it's always better to make them stronger so they can build up quicker. You're actually going to be further ahead if you make stronger splits and then just keep splitting off of those than trying to, when you're doing your initial split, trying to get as much as you can out of a colony and making all the splits weak. You could be further ahead if we take this approach. So let me grab an empty here. Okay, so all we missed, once again, storage on my iPhone. I gotta get it fixed. We put syrup, the empty on the second, empty super on the second, and then this one back on the top.
Now, it's ideal if the frames are drawn out, correct?
It is. On this one here, we've got about half drawn out and half foundation. If you're using, obviously when you're just starting, you don't usually have a lot of drawn out comb, if any. And so that's where feeding them helps further in allowing them to draw that comb out quickly. And it also heightens the probability of you getting an excess honey crop. Since if you have all the comb built up early in the year because of syrup that you're feeding them, when they do get some of these main flows, such as the blackberry flow be our next major flow, they're able to store that versus build wax with it. So it's another good thing. Anyways, thank you all so much. Hopefully this is helpful, and we'll follow our nucs now through a season. So now we're up to 2 colonies from 1. So just a quick addendum to the end of the video, and that is, if you do a split with a mated queen and move the other original colony to a new location in the same yard or somewhere else, whatever, leave them for at least a week. So I'll do a video here in a week, and we'll do a follow-up on how the split with the new mated queen looks, and also the original queen colony that we moved to the new location in the same yard. So anyways, hope this is helpful. Feel free to add questions in the comments, and we'll take it from there.